If someone can confirm I'm audible. Right. Thank you, Sundar. Thanks for confirming. Okay, so I'll proceed. So yeah, this is for today's lecture. Most possibly, like, it's part of demo. So we'll be discussing something about overview, concepts, and architecture. Right. So you know, as middleware, it's always in the middle. You can see this hierarchy, and that's being designed by Oracle. You can see right here, middleware is actually the component where all your applications run. So it's actually application server. So you have your storage, your servers, your virtual machines, your operating system, database, middleware, and applications. And Oracle has created a vast majority of applications. So they have numerous applications. They have database of their own. They have operating systems such as Sun, Solaris, and Oracle Linux now. Virtual machines, they have their own OVM, which is Oracle Virtual Machine. And then servers, they have their own servers now, Sun servers, Solaris servers, and storage in form of JFS. So they have variety of products, but middleware falls right in here. And this is one layer, which is a layer between your application and your database. So this is right in the middle, and it forms a three-tier architecture where you have access between presentation layer, application layer, and DB layer. We'll be seeing more in detail. So this is how it looks as per the Oracle infrastructure booklet. Right, so what FMW is, it's an infrastructure, and you can deploy it, or you can configure it in two ways. You can do it in standalone mode or co-located mode. So if you have worked with something called OBIEE, you would know about these modes. If not, we will be covering this as a part of our session. So to make you understand a bit what is a standalone mode and co-located mode. So standalone is something it runs on its own. So it doesn't need any integration with Weblogic. But when it is in co-located mode, it will be integrated with Weblogic, and instead of using its own startup mechanism, actually Weblogic will be controlling the other one. So let's say if OBIEE and Weblogic comes together and you have installed it in co-located mode, that means you can control OBIEE servers using your Weblogic console. But in the first one, if it is standalone mode, it will have OBIEE will have its own set of scripts to control that. So it's infrastructure facilitates the creation of business applications, like any applications. Mainly for Weblogic, you have Java Enterprise applications. So any Java EE applications to deploy onto top of your middleware can be accessed through it and can be served the purpose of, you know, for any, it may be e-commerce or any business applications. So what it contains as a part of Fusion Middleware, it's not just one product, it's variety of products. So you have web servers within it, you have application servers, you have content management, you have identity management, you have SOA, you have business intelligence. So business intelligence is what I spoke about, OBIEE. Web server, you have something called OHS, you have application servers as well, content management, like you have Weblogic portal, identity management, you have IDM, and OAM, Oracle Access Manager, etc., and so as well, which is one of the popular products by Oracle. So you can also go through Oracle website to see, because it's like numerous, there are many products for it. Right, so what different varieties of products it's available within Fusion Middleware. So you have development tools available, so something like SOA tools and framework. You also have JDeveloper and other ADF as well. They are also part of your development tools. And then you have user interaction, something called portal, content, search, or desktop, mobile, VoIP. It's all part of middleware. You have something in the development, something in the user interaction, something in business intelligence, integration and process management, where your messaging, ESP, BPM comes in. So if you don't know all this terminology, you can leave it for now, but just understand these are all part of your Oracle Fusion Middleware, and your Oracle Fusion Middleware is available almost in all aspects, being it development, your user interaction, or your BI, your integration or process management, your application server, or your grid infrastructure, or your system management, or identity management. So any of these, if you want to use any of these products, Oracle Fusion Middleware serves that purpose, and it has product for each of these in available. Right. So what are the tools? Like I said, you have some tools, development tools such as JDeveloper, TopLink, ADF, and Eclipse. You would have heard of Eclipse, like Java used to be built on top of it. Then you have user interaction, something called Web Center Portal for business intelligence. You have OBIEE, and content management. You have Web Center content. In a nutshell, this is what you can see, and it actually covers most of it. So you have application server, SOA, business intelligence, content management, identity management, data hubs, enterprise 2.0, collaboration services, Java development tools, enterprise performance management, and BIEE. Anyways, this is the older one, which is now popularly known as your Weblogic. So variety of products within your Fusion Middleware stack. It's a big stack. You can just type in your Fusion Middleware, and you can see it in Oracle website for that. Right, so in application server, the popular application server is Weblogic server, which actually covers 70% of the market currently. There are a few other rivals in the market, such as IBM WebSphere and Tomcat Apache being freeware as well. IBM is not free. Yeah, but Weblogic is the one being used by most of the projects across geographies, and it covers 70% of the market share. Right, in identity access management, you have OIG, which is the governance, OAM, access manager, then directory services. Directory services, you have something called OID, OUD, OBD, 3 different directory structure depending upon what you're comfortable with. You can use them, and it's all similar, it follows similar concept. Now you have something called enterprise management, and this certainly you will be seeing in Fusion Middleware. So you have OEM cloud control, WLST is the command line, similar administration task you do, OPMN. Okay, so this actually is applicable till 11G. From 12C onwards, this will be deprecated. It won't be available. So we won't be doing much of 11G. We actually will be focusing only on the 12C. So 12C, so we'll be discussing cloud control, we'll be discussing on WLST and admin console. This, while comparing it, the directory structure, and just to explain you the difference, we'll discuss it, but it won't be covered because that comes as a part of your system component, and it is deprecated in 12C. Right, so yeah, so okay, so this will clarify what's the difference between your Java and system components. So you have system components. So if you have worked already, or if you have some knowledge about how 11G works, being it OBIEE or any other product, maybe so any other external product. So whenever you install OBIEE, let's consider the example of OBIEE. When you install OBIEE, it automatically creates an Oracle instance, or Oracle Forms also if you do that. So it creates an instance, and that can be started, stopped, or status can be checked using your OPMN process. If you would have heard of a command called OPMN CTL status, something like so in earlier systems, in 12C things has been changed. So now you won't be seeing OPMN at all. But in earlier system, you would have something OPMN CTL status or start, stop. So if you work that way, that is nothing but your system components. So when you install it, you will get this OPMN, and Oracle instance will be created as a part of that. And example for them is HTTP server, your web cache, or virtual directory. So if you install any one of these, you will be seeing it. Okay, OBIEE also you would be seeing it, but in 12C you won't be seeing it because that's been deprecated, and now you have got scripts for everything. So you use your start scripts, and it starts everything, all the infrastructure in 12C. Right, so Java components, your Weblogic server, it requires your Weblogic server to run. So because 12C is all integrated with Weblogic, even for the OBIEE, so all scripts are controlled through Weblogic binary folders. So it creates, concept is similar, like in Weblogic, you will have a domain home. If you don't know Weblogic, don't worry about it, because that also will be covered as a part of your course. So you would know about Weblogic and OBIEE and SOA, how do you integrate each other and how it works in collaboration. So all those you will be learning as a part of this course. So these are the examples of Java components. So you have Weblogic server, which you know when you install, and when you configure it, it creates a domain. Then you have other products such as Oracle Access Manager, Oracle Identity Management, Oracle SOA Suite. So these two won't be covered as a part of this course because they are a bit advanced topic and they themselves require another, it's itself is a course. So if anything to do with Oracle Access Manager or Oracle Identity Manager is itself a course. But to understand, these are all parts of your Fusion Middleware product and they are part of your Java components example. Okay. At the same time, you have few hybrids as well. What does this hybrid mean? So there is something called Java components, system components, and there are few products which are actually culmination of both. So they have partially your instance as well as your domain structure. So what are those? You have OBIEE, intelligence, and Oracle Internet Directory. So these two are mainly your hybrid components. Right, so let's discuss about the architecture. Like I said, it's 3-tier architecture, and this is for Fusion Middleware architecture. So you can see, let me explain that to you. Right, so mainly you can see that you have got one web tier, your middle tier, and data tier. Right, so your web tier is somewhere where you can have your LBR. LBR is nothing but your load balancer. This can be your hardware load balancer or software load balancer, depending upon your organization needs. Followed by Oracle Web Cache. Okay, remember this. This is applicable for 11G. If you're working for 12C onwards, you won't be seeing Web Cache anymore. And then Oracle HTTP server. So normally you use HTTP server with your load balancer, and then you'll have in the middle tier you will have your applications deployed. It may be your Oracle SOA suite, your Web Center portal, your identity management, Weblogic server, or any of these. So it can be any of the Fusion Middleware product which will be part of your middle tier. And then you'll have data tier where you can also use LDAP server for users authorization and authentication, or you can use a database as well for that purpose, or a database actually for the backend. So any information you want to fetch for your applications is actually being stored in your database. So any request coming in from your browser passes through your web server, your load balancer, or your HTTP server, comes to your middle tier, which in turn uses your business logic to understand that request and then send that request to your database, and in turn request is being processed through database, sends back to your business logic, which is your middle tier, and then it is being displayed onto your browser through your web tier, which is also your presentation tier. So in considering it in a networking protocol layer, this becomes your presentation layer. This is your application layer, and this is your data tier. And this firewall is actually optional. Few organizations, they prefer firewall at each level, few they don't. Firewall, yes, it's good in terms of security, but sometimes it can create hiccups even in terms of your system being slow. So sometimes organizations have to take the decision that they may or may not want to go with a firewall. So again, it depends upon what kind of infra you're handling or what kind of infra your organization is supposed to go through. If they have got really good infra to run reliant system and faster system, they can go with firewalls as they want to. Okay, right at the top, you can see 3 tools. So WLSD, Admin Console, and Oracle Enterprise. These are the 3 ones using which you can control your domain and you can perform administrative tasks, manage your servers and your resources for your domain. Okay, so this is a 3-tier architecture. Like I explained you the flow. To reiterate that, if a request comes through internet, it passes through your load balancer, followed by your web host, which again you can put it in active or active passive mode, and then followed by firewall, and then your application layer. This is example of SOA one, where you can put in VIP if you would like to, and then your servers, followed by admin server, and then your database. So 3-tier architecture is what Weblogic follows, and your Fusion Middleware all follows the same concepts. Right, so this is for enterprise deployment. So normally how an organization will look. So if you are working for a big corporate, they will probably have this infrastructure. So they'll have a DMZ zone, which is a secure zone and nothing can pass through it. So you will have internet and you will be using SSL. Between in the middle, you can see this firewall. So this symbol right here, this is your firewall. So you have a workstation here using internet, sending a request through SSL, and then this VIP is in place. Again, it's being secure because you are hiding your internal IPs and names for the server through this VIP. So VIP actually doesn't display it on the screen, so it's becomes tough for hackers to hack your environment. And then underlying, you have your WebLogic servers right here, web host 1, web host 2, and then request coding for them. Let me go to the next diagram because it's half the picture. Right, so you see it right here, and then half of the picture you can see it here. I couldn't adjust it in one slide because it was a little bigger and it would have been shorter. So again, those in a corporate website, how it works, you'll have these users, you'll be passing it through OID, or it will be through database. Even for users, you can use a database for OID, otherwise it pays the files. Similarly, for your application server, you can have database where your data is stored, and that will be passed to your organization. So this is just to understand a corporate diagram, and even if you go for architecture at your organization level, probably you'll get a similar kind of diagram for your environment. So as a Fusion Middleware resource, if you go to an organization, this is what you would be expected to do. So you should be good with your SSL, you should be good with your OHS setup. If you are good even with your Oracle Access Manager, OID, like ADAP integrations and other things, your OHS integrations, and controlling your Fusion Middleware products, then that certainly will help you. And this kind of enterprise deployment, you could handle it individually. So that's, if you know the Fusion Middleware product perfectly, you would be able to do this yourself. Right, so this is just about primary and DR site highlights. Mainly it's clone of this. So if one of this primary is running and DR actually keeps a copy of your primary, in case for some reason your primary goes down, DR, which is exact replica of your primary, takes it up, takes the control, and then until your primary comes back up, your DR will be working till that. So you can see will be all similar. You can see right here, there is not much difference, only understand in a way that you have two environments, one is running at a time and another is one on waiting. So as soon as something happens to the first one, second one picks up as a part of your disaster recovery. And yes, remember one more thing, your disaster recovery is always in a separate location. So if you have your primary, let's say on city 1, then you will certainly have your DR either in another location within the city, or most of the times in another city, or it may be also in another country. So depending upon how wide is your organization. Right, so this is a bit about your some changes which has come. So what are the few terminologies which you use as a part of your Fusion Middleware? So you have something called Java Home, which is nothing but wherever you put in your Java. Your Middleware Home is your main directory under which your all application goes in. So now this has been changed in 12C. Now it is called Oracle Home. In 11G, it was Middleware Home popularly. WL Home is nothing but your directory path to your Weblogic WL server directory. Coherence Home is similar, your path to your Coherence directory. Oracle Home is actually where all your products gets installed and all your application products, everything gets installed under your Oracle Home. Is for 12C. Oracle Common Home is nothing but your Oracle Common Directories path. We'll be seeing it soon. Domain Home is actually where you create domain. Now, remember this, within a host, so host is nothing but your server where you deploy or install. So within a host, you can have many number of domains. So you can create 2-3 domains. So when you call domain home, it is the respective domain directory for that particular domain. An Oracle instance in case you are using your system components. Right, so I've explained this. You have Java Home and okay, yeah, one thing, let me explain it. So Java Home, when you specify, there are two ways to do it. When you install Java, let me just explain you that so that it will make you understand better. Okay, so let's say you are installing JDK and you have to download JDK first. How do you decide what kind of JDK is you need? So if I'll go to JDK download, just my system is a bit slow. Right, okay, so let's come up, that's good. Let's say I have a Linux server. So based on that, whether it's 32-bit or 64-bit, I'll be choosing it. So considering I have a Linux server, which is 64-bit, now I have two files here. One is RPM and tar.zz. Now if I take the RPM, then I have to install it using root. And if I install it using root, then that particular Java is available to my whole system. That means the whole machine, whole host. But if I do this, if I take a zip file tar.zz, I can take multiple. I can take this version as well as this version, and then based on user, I can configure it independently. So let's say I create a user as Oracle, another user as Weblogic, and Weblogic can use version 8 update 171, and my Oracle can use update 8172. So if I use the zip files, the tar files, it is customizable. Java is customizable. So this exactly is what this slide says. So Java Home, you can specify per host. That means you can have just one Java, JDK or Java for your whole server, or you can have based on your middleware home. So if I want to install 10G and 11G, or let's say 11G and 12C Weblogic on my same machine, I can do that using different versions of Java, but I'll have to use tarball files for that and then customize it within my middleware home to make it usable by that particular middleware home. So that can be done. Right, so how it looks, so you'll have middleware home inside that. So this is for 11G, is what you see on the screen. So under middleware home, if you perform an installation on configuration, there will be this directory instance home will be created by default. Then there will be Weblogic server home, Oracle home, Oracle common, and domain home. So if you install OHS, you'll be seeing this by default. You perform installation and configuration for 11G, and these are the directories you will be seeing inside. So this is what Oracle home is. This is nothing but where your product is installed. Oracle common is your common like directory where all it contains the libraries and other files for your product to run, Fusion middleware product to run. And domain home is where you actually create the domain. So it can be any domain based on your product you have installed. So if you have installed SOA, it will be SOA domain. If you have installed Weblogic, it will be Weblogic domain. If it's OBIEE, then it will be OBIEE domain. These are the files of Weblogic server home. So this is where all your Weblogic files which supports Weblogic resides. And this is nothing but your instance home which gets created. Under this, you will have your OPMN, CTL files and executables. So yeah, it gets created during your Weblogic server installation, and these are the directories which are part of it. So this is again same middleware home, and I guess it is repeated. Okay, yeah, just to explain that middleware home gets created as a part of your directory. Right, so this is similar, no difference. Just what I explained you. Right, so bit more. So you have these directories. So you have middleware home followed by Weblogic server home, your Oracle home, Oracle common home, and domain home. Inside domain home is where your Weblogic domain is. You'll have admin server and the number of managed servers you have created. So in a nutshell, it just shows you the components of your Weblogic domain is admin server and managed server. But there are others. You have resources, you have configurations, and other things as well. So resources and services are also part of your domain. Okay, so this is about instance home. So if you have instance, you can see it under this. Your system component will be created as a part of your instance home. And remember this is for 11G. So if you're in 12C, you don't have to bother about these. You won't be seeing this. So this is how the overall structure looks for Fusion middleware file system. Right. So that was about the file system, how it looks. There is a file system for 12C, which we'll be discussing when we'll go about installing 12C. Before that, we'll go through the file system after installation. Actually, after installation and configuration, there is a session for file system and start stop where we'll be discussing about how 12C is different than 11G and what are the difference, what has come new into 12c and what has been deprecated from 11c. Right, let's discuss something about domain, because all of these comes with a domain and everything is controlled through a domain. So domain is nothing but a logical collection of all your resources at your servers, your resources and services. So it's collection of all everything. So what it contains? So it contains your servers, admin server, managed server. Remember, this admin server can one and only one. So there can be only one admin server per domain. So if you have one domain, there will be one admin server dedicated to that particular domain. You cannot have multiple admin server for that domain. Managed servers, you can have 0 or to n numbers. So you can go without managed servers, although that's only applicable for development. If you're in production, definitely you need managed servers, but you can have any number of managed servers depending upon capacity of your system. Then you'll have clusters, your machines, domain directory, Weblogic admin console. Right, so this is one interesting one. Domain within a single machine. So consider this one of the machine. So let's say this is host A. You can have one installation for WLS, and with that one installation, you can create multiple domains within the same host, and that is called multiple domains from a single installation. Let me just explain to you one more time. So you have just one host or one server. Within that, you have performed the installation for WLS, Weblogic, and then you have created two domains using the same installation. So you have created multiple domains. So domain 1 and domain 2, and such an installation is called multiple domains from a single installation. Right. Now there is another one where you have three machines. So you have three hosts, host A, host B, and host C. Now in that case, if you want to create a single domain, so you have multiple installation for a single domain. So you just want to create one domain for all these three machines. So in that case, you have host A, you will install WLS, Weblogic. In host B as well, you will install Weblogic. Host 3 as well, you will install Weblogic. After doing that, and this is also called as horizontal clustering, we'll be covering as a part of your cluster. This kind of configuration where it is just one domain, but all three machines are part of a single domain. Such a domain deployment is called multiple installation for a single domain. So your domain is actually expanded across machines. So these are the two domain deployments. Right, so how you do it? So when you go for an installation, this is not actually the installation screen, but this is actually configuration screen. So when you do it, by default, it gives you a name, base domain, and you can change it to the one you want. And this will be your domain location by default, and these will be your application location. So your applications and domains are segregated now. And this is how it looks. So when you create your domain, this will be your domain directory, and this is what is called your domain home. Inside domain home, you will see list of directories. I won't be explaining you all, but in the nitty-gritty, I'll just explain you again. So bin is one of the important one because this is where all your binaries or executable files are. So if you're on Windows, you will find .cmd file which are required to stop your servers. And if you're in Linux, Unix, it will be your .sh shell scripts which will be used for starting and stopping. Servers is actually where all your servers will be created. So if you have created admin server, your admin server directory will be inside the servers folder. If you have created n number of managed servers, those n numbers of directories with that managed server name will be inside those servers. Similarly, you have security where you have security related files in. Node manager is for node manager, and others we will discuss as a part of our course later on. So you can see that. So on the servers, you have admin and you have cache, data, log, security team. So these are all directories related to your server. So any servers you create, it will have all these directories as a part of that server. So if I create managed server, it will still have the same list of directories, and they have their own purpose. I'll explain you later as a part of course what are those directories and why they are being used. Similarly, you have config directory, another useful directory, and this file is the most important one, config.xml. So this file is actually heart of your system. So this contains all the configuration of your domain. Any corruption in this file screws up the whole environment. So it is advisable that you don't touch this file directly. Instead, use your Weblogic console or your Fusion Middleware control to change anything into your system. Right, so that was about some of the important directories, which again we'll be discussing in greater detail once we get into directory structure and what those directories are. You can see right here in the example inside bin, you can see these files. So start WebLogic will be used to start servers, admin server, and start WebLogic will be used to stop your admin server. This is how it looks when your server is configured. You have servers, your admin server, and any other server, BI server or OEM server or SOA server, depending upon how many products you have configured, it will be available. So server, you have two types of server. You have admin server and managed server. Admin server is the one which actually controls your resources and domain. You can change configuration to your domain, and you can do edits and other things through your admin. So admin server is the one which controls actually your domain and resources. Managed server is the one where you actually deploy your applications and your applications run on managed server. Now, so in managed servers, you can deploy your var, ER, jar, JMS, so all those things. And each server, remember, each server when it is created, being its admin server or managed server, it creates a process and it has JVM which runs as a part of that process. So everything is a JVM. So any server you create, that becomes a JVM and that runs on your operating system. We also have something called dynamic servers, although this course won't be covering not a lot in detail, but we will go through what dynamic server is and why they are required and because they are new to 12c, and certainly we should discuss that. So that will be covered as a part of the course. Right, so any server when created, how it looks. So this is how briefly it looks. So whenever a machine is created, a new server is created, it will have detail about the JDK followed by the server parameters. This is nothing but the maximum and minimum and maximum memory being assigned to that particular JVM, and then other parameters related to your JVM. So JVM has a list of parameters where you do your optimizations and everything. So this is how typically your Java virtual machine looks. So in this screen, you can see this is for OEM server 1. It will have detail for the server name as well. And this is for your admin server. So when you don't do any changes to the system, by default, system creates. If you have not done anything, this is what it creates. You can also change it if required based on your needs. Right, so admin server is the one, there is just one admin server and it managed using admin console and admin server. You can control your managed server and resources and services. As I said, there can be only one admin server and singleton service one-to-one. Managed server is one where you deploy your applications, and that is the one it's hosts. And you can have 0 to n managed servers and independent of clusters. Okay, so there's one more thing. When you create a managed server, you can make it part of a cluster. Cluster, for now, you can understand this cluster is nothing but it's collection of your managed servers. So logical collection of your managed servers. If you make 2 or 3 servers as a part of a group, so part of a cluster, so your cluster contains 3 servers within a cluster, and your request actually goes to cluster instead of those servers. But in case your servers are not part of cluster, they are running independently and they will be processing your request independently. Okay, so admin server is the one which stores your master configuration. So like I said, config.xml is the one which contains details about the whole of the domain. So using admin server, you can change the configuration details, and that is the one, config.xml is the one which is the master configuration being stored by your admin server. And each managed server has its own copy. Let's say for some reason admin server goes down, managed server can run using their local copy. But any changes to the system, it needs to connect to admin server to copy the required configuration from master configuration into their own local copy. So on the first time, managed server startup, admin server should be running. Otherwise, if admin server is down, managed server can run on its own, and that is something called as managed server independence mode. So mainly whenever admin server is running and you start your managed server, it connects to your admin server, takes the configuration, does the syncing for the configuration, copies the master something from details from master configuration, copies it to its local copy. So now, right now, admin and managed server both are running. But in case something happens to admin server, it has copied already the details from the master configuration, so it can run on its own. So using a local copy. Right, so this is another important one, RCO, and it's specifically for Fusion middleware. Okay, remember this Fusion middleware comes in 2 ways. If you go to, let's say, if you go for Weblogic onto the Oracle website. Let me just show it here. If you go here, so it may be a bit confusing for you initially. Okay, let me go for any one of them. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to any of the installers for now, just to explain you. So it says, although it says Fusion Middleware, but there is something called generic, which again is covered as a part of session, but just to make you understand what's the difference. So you have a couple of installers available. So let's say if you want to install this, you have something called quick installer, you have called generic installer, and Fusion Middleware installer. The quick installer is one for developers. It provides them facility to do something really fast. Generic is the one where you don't need these. So you don't need to create RCU and other things if you are running just with generic. But in case you are installing Fusion Middleware, this one, then you definitely need to create this repository, RCU. Now this repository is nothing but it creates quite number of schemas into your database, and your Fusion Middleware should be connected to your database. So before installation is fine, you can perform the installation, but before you configure, your database should be ready and you should be able to create the schemas onto your database. Now in 11G it was different. You need to download your RCU separately, but in 12C now it is integrated and RCU comes as a part of your installation. So it is used to create and manage Fusion Middleware database schemas. So when you use this RCU, it provides the opportunity to create number of schemas, and it is not mandatory that you create all the schemas. Depending upon what particular product you are trying to integrate or what particular product you'll be using it, you can choose or customize the schemas and then create the custom ones. And if you're not sure, just go with all the schemas and you'll be just fine. Okay, so you can run it in two words. For RCU, you can run it in graphical GUI mode or command line interface. So you can run it directly from DB server as well or from remote machines. But as a Weblogic admin or Fusion Middleware administrator, you may not have access to DBA credentials, so you may have to run it remotely probably. But in case you have access to both machines, yes, you can go to DB server and you can run it from there. Whenever you create a schema, it will ask for a prefix and you can assign a prefix. So prefix something like, if you give dev, it will create all a schema with dev underscore followed by the schema name. Similarly, if you provide test or prod, it will use that prefix and then create the respective schema names. And this is all required for your Fusion Middleware functionality to work. Different products use different schemas for their own functionality, and that's why these are required. So for example, you can see right here on the diagram. So this is nothing but similar. You have app host 1, WebLogic domain 1, WebLogic domain 2. So we have created these schemas right here and these on this. So DB host 1, we have dev MDS. So this is the prefix, dev underscore is the prefix, and followed by these are the schema name MDS, and you have some auditing tables right here. The schema is being created. So for each database, whenever you perform a configuration, when you create a schema, it will be created onto your database. So this is how it looks. You can see that. Okay, and you can use any servers. You can use Oracle. You can use Microsoft SQL Server, IBM DB2. So it's your Fusion Middleware supports variety of database as well, and it's expanding its horizon to further support the database, the new and upcoming database as well. Right. So this is about your RCU. For 11G, you need separate one. So if you are in 11G, you may need to download it separately, because I have done it, and like 11G people, they have to download RCU separately and then run it. But in 12C, it's quite easy. You just perform your installation. Your RCU will be right in your Oracle Common bin, and you can use it from there to run it. Right, like I said, in 12C. So 11G, you have to download separately and then run it. In 12C, it's part of your infrastructure, and under this folder, you will find .rcu script. You can run it. Okay, so this is not important, although you can just see it. So you can run it in, okay, you can do create and drop as well. So let's say you have created a schema for the first time, and for some reason your configuration failed or you had some mistake. Now next time if you want to do your configuration again, you will have to drop it. So RCU provides that facility as well. So it provides you facility to create as well as to drop schema, and you can do it using your GUI or silent mode. Okay, so that difference I've already told, that in 11G you have to download separately. In 12C it is just part of your feature middleware infrastructure. Okay, so this is just about what HA and DR will be. So HA is nothing but your high availability. So you have something in the active mode. So your client request can go to any one of them depending upon the algorithms you have chosen at the time of configuration, or depending upon if it is based on workload, so which one is free. Similarly, you can have active passive configuration, which normally if you follow in terms of, even it is being followed for DR. So one active node is running at one time, and if it goes down, it is automatically being failed over to your passive one, and your first passive one becomes active, and your active one becomes passive until the time it is fixed and is ready to up and run. And this is how typically your diagram looks. Okay, so few of the terminology. You have something called disaster recovery, like I explained. You can have across geography. So if you have in one city, you can keep it in other city or in another country. So to cover your disaster recovery. So something happens to your primary site, your disaster site can pick it up and until your primary comes back up. So there is something called asymmetric topology and symmetric topology. So asymmetric topology is different configuration that is different across tiers in primary and standby site, and symmetric is configuration that is completely identical across tiers and sites. So sometimes what happens, I have seen this personally, clients, they don't want to spend much on DR, so they just want DR for the reason being they can run their business for some time, but they don't want exact replica of the original primary site. So in case they don't have the exact replica, so your primary site is not same as your DR, that is something called asymmetric topology. And if it is symmetric, that means everything is same, software by software, piece by piece. Physical host name, it is nothing but a machine you run, the host name for that is an alias host name. If you have assigned, like you would have seen /etc/host, in that the entry you can have define alias as well. Site failover is nothing but when your primary becomes secondary and secondary becomes primary. It is during your DR failover. Same thing, site failover and site synchronization. Synchronization is done when you usually, let's say your primary has become DR and your DR is going back to primary. You have to sync it to make sure that both are up to date with the information. Okay, nothing much in here. This is just about primary and DR site, so configuration for those, and I think this I've already shown it to you. Right. Anyway, so that's about primary and DR site. Normally, the was the complete follows. So this is what we discussed in brief about the feature level concepts, and a part of it, what it contains, what are the few components, the directory structure, admin, something about domains, admin server, managed server. And as a part of this course, these are the lectures which will be covered. So this was just a brief of it, and it's probably more like an introduction about the system, what Fusion Middleware is. There are various number of products as well as part of Fusion. But as a part of this course, what we are going to cover is I'm showing you on the screen. So Fusion Middleware concepts and architecture. We'll be covering Weblogic server for you, then Oracle HTTP server, which is also known as OHS. Then Weblogic OHS integration, which is a must, as we have seen in our diagram, how a web tier connects to your application tier and then to data tier. So all that integration, you should be able to do it yourself. Then Oracle SOA suite concepts and installation. Yes, because this is Fusion Middleware, so we'll have to do this SOA suite as well. And then followed by start, stop, and troubleshooting on SOA. Then deployments on SOA. So there are various ways to deploy on SOA. You can do it through your console. You can also do it through Fusion Middleware. So we'll be seeing those. Then Fusion Middleware HA and DR. So how it is done. So deployments, although I've shown you a few diagrams, but we'll be discussing much in detail when we actually do it. And then security, which will deal with your how users and groups are created, and LDAP integration, how users are authenticated to your Fusion Middleware products. Then secure circuit layer, which is your SSL, and we'll be just discussing about how SSL is being set up for a system. Then patching in Fusion middleware, followed by cloning in Fusion middleware. So cloning is more like migrating it. And OBIEE install, configure deployment. So OBIEE is also part of your Fusion middleware. And yes, so that's about the course which you will be covering as a part of our Fusion middleware components. There is one more thing, Fusion middleware portal. We won't be covering it because that's not required. What I've seen is like most of the Fusion middleware admins, they are not required to work upon them. But if it is required, it is not much. If you go through Weblogic, OHS, SOA, OBIEE, your Fusion middleware like Weblogic portal is much similar to Weblogic, just few differences, especially in terms of how it is being started and other things, which can be clarified with few sessions as well. Right, so guys, I'm done with this session, and I'm in the slide at a high level, but if you want to go into nitty-gritty details of it, you can go to the website, BISP, and see it there. Or otherwise, this is how it has been designed for you to go through. Any questions for me? No, it's okay. Anyone is trying to say something? I just heard a voice. So I can see a few guys online. I can see Sundar, Michael, Ramakrishna. Do you guys have any questions for me? Or maybe let me know what you were expecting for this session and why you are interested in Fusion middleware training. If you can just quickly put it on chat window or something. Okay, so if you don't have questions, it's great. Just let me know why you want to get into this Fusion middleware. What is that you're looking for? Why Fusion middleware?